Did you know that cake pops were originally created to use up leftover cake in bakeries? Now, they're one of the most beloved treats and are perfect for any occasion. So today, I'll be showing you step by step on how to make these. This is what we're aiming for, and here are the machines and kind of ingredients we're going to need. I'll dive in more to that a bit later in the video. Here are all my ingredients already measured out and ready to use. First, I'm going to start with my cacao powder, and it's 1 cup of it. I'm going to sift it through the strainer just to make sure that there's no clumps for my recipe, because we don't want any clumps. After I have completely strained through my cacao powder, I'm going to go in with my 1 cup of flour, and I'm going to repeat the same process to again make sure that there's no clumps in our final mixture. Here I am just doing the same with the sugar. It's again 1 cup of sugar, and I'm going to do the exact same process to make sure that there's no clumps. After we're all done putting in our dry ingredients, we're going to go in with our wet ingredients. This is 1/3 of oil, and we're just going to pour it right in. Next up, I will be adding in our 4 eggs. You can just take medium eggs and just pour those right in as well. Next up, I'm going to add 1/2 cup of milk. I saved the best for last, and here is my secret ingredient. After adding all your ingredients to the mixing bowl, you want to make sure to clean your surface to have a nice working surface. So now we have all of our ingredients into the bowl, and we're going to want to put the bowl into the mixer. We're just going to make sure that that's tightly secured and it doesn't spill. The next step is to lower your mixer and start on a slow setting for approximately 1 minute. Once that minute is up, you're going to want to stop your blender, lift it up, and get your spatula. You want to scrape everything off the head of your blender as well as on the edges and on the sides of your bowl. You want it to look like a nice thick consistency in the end. After you've done that, you want to restart your blender at a bit higher setting for another minute. While the blender is blending, you want to clean your workspace and make sure everything is nice and clean. You will need some parchment paper as we're preparing our molds and base for our cakes to go in the oven. You will take a piece of parchment paper out, put both your molds on the parchment paper, and with this very fancy tool, you will outline it. If you don't have the tool, you can easily use a pen or a pencil. After I traced and outlined my molds, I'm going to use some scissors and quickly cut around the outline I drew. Since I have two molds, I'm going to take out my scale and I'm going to balance my batter out between the two bowls. Here you see me pouring the batter in my first mold. Here I am with the second mold, trying to do the same thing, get an even number so that both molds weigh the same. Now that my batter is evenly balanced, I'm going to put these in the oven at 325 for around 45 minutes. Again, it's really important to clean your surface to make sure that it remains sanitized. After the 45 minutes, we're going to take out our cakes from the oven, and a little trick to knowing if your cakes are ready or not is to take a stick and poke a hole in the middle. If batter comes out on it, it is not ready, but if nothing comes up like this, it means it's ready. So now that my cakes are ready, I'm going to flip them over one by one. And then take off the piece of parchment paper on both of them. Here is what you will need for the next step: a chocolate melter, some sticks, our cakes, and obviously our chocolate, dark chocolate. And boom, just like that, it's in our chocolate melter, and we're gonna start our chocolate melter while we prepare our cake balls. So we're gonna put our cake into a blender, and when you blend it for long enough, it will become a paste, and then you can take that paste and make it into small balls for cake pops. You're going to want to occasionally stop your blender and make sure that you really compress all your cake just to make sure that it's forming a proper dough. Here is me showing you guys that you can put extracts and flavors into your dough. One of my all-time favorites is peppermint, which is mint. It pairs up really well with that dark chocolate and gives it a good taste. But you can also add more exotic flavors such as like strawberries, and also, for example, raspberries. So if you wanted to add some flavor, you can just throw it in the blender right now with your dough and it would pair well together. Here is our cake finally all coming together and becoming more of a dough. I'm going to stop my blender, and the next step is to dump your dough out into the counter. You want to make sure that you don't cut yourself because the blade will most likely come out with it. The next step is to knead your dough until it becomes one big ball without air bubbles or cracks. So here is our ball of dough, all kneaded. It's looking good. The next step is you're going to want to put aside your ball of dough for at least 10 minutes. I'm not going to make you guys wait, and I'm going to come back and it's all going to be on the table. So here I'm just taking my ball of dough and kind of splitting it into smaller pieces. To be specific, 27 grams, that's why I'm using a scale. I feel like it's the perfect size for CakePops. Then I want to basically roll out my little pieces into ball-like shapes to make that cake pop ball. Then we are going to want to take a stick and dip only the tip into our chocolate. After the tip is dipped in chocolate, you're going to want to insert it in the ball without force because you don't want to squish the ball, but you kind of just want it to stick in like that. After you stuck every single one of them, you're going to want to put them in the fridge for at least 5 minutes to let that chocolate cool down. Our next step is to dip our entire cake pop into chocolate. So here I am dipping it in our chocolate, and you're going to want to kind of smack your hand to make sure that all excess of chocolate gets off the cake pop. Once all that chocolate is off, I decided to cover this one with some sprinkles. So here I am just drizzling sprinkles all over it. Once I'm done, I'm just going to put it on my tray on the side. Here is me just showing you another example of how to dip a cake pop. Same thing, you're going to want to put the whole thing in the chocolate and then slightly tap on your hand or your wrist to make sure that all the extra chocolate slides off. So here I'm just going to do the same thing and place it on my tray. Once I've done all of them, I want to put it in the freezer just to let that chocolate sit for at least another 10 minutes. The final step is to wrap them. So I grab a little plastic bag that I made, and you're going to want to open it, take your cake pop, and simply slide it inside. once you've done that, you're going to grab a piece of ribbon and you're going to tie a little knot or a bow tie. After making your bow or your little knot, you can easily just take scissors and cut off the extra string. And there you have it, a perfect cake pop, perfectly packaged. And there we have it, our final product, beautiful and well-made cake pops. I strongly recommend you to try out this recipe, because who knows, it might become one of your favorite treats to make for special occasions. So happy baking, and I can't wait to hear about all your projects.